Disclaimer: this video is offered solely for educational and historical insight. It neither supports nor encourages any hatred, violence, or prejudice. The aim is to analyse and comprehend the past's key events, beliefs and language without celebrating or excusing them. Viewers should exercise caution given the delicate nature of the historical material. Following the Great War, manufacturing resumed and folks hoped for brighter times ahead. We'd weathered tough times, convinced that with dedication and grit, wealth would come back. Frederick the Great, after the 7 Years' War, through tireless work, handed Rus-Prussia over free of any debt. Yet at the close of the World War, Germany faced not just her own 7 or 8 billion marks in obligations, but also the global debts thrust upon her as reparations. The rewards of German hard work no longer stayed with the local labourer. They went to overseas lenders instead. Daily, freight trains hauled products across our frontiers, taking the fruits of our sweat away. Each labourer in Germany toiled not just for his loved ones, but also for some stranger abroad who'd never meet him. A fellow who took the outcomes of German diligence as payment, and even after 2 or 3 decades of such striving, Germany would still be in debt for billions. The more she exerted herself, the tighter her bonds grew. Where did this path lead? To mortgaging our territory, binding our workforce in servitude, and shattering our autonomy. So, November 1918 wasn't a victory. It started our decline. On the economic front, it signalled ruin. Politically, it brought shame. Losing our military meant losing self-reliance. Losing monetary control invited the oversight of the reparations body. Germany, formerly so dignified, turned into an outpost for foreign powers. And we played a part in it ourselves. We debased ourselves in front of outsiders. We demolished our own self-respect, ridiculed what had been revered, and rejected our integrity. They claimed the uprising delivered social improvements, but those benefits are unseen, as fleeting as a breeze. One person mentions, "We've got the 8-hour workday." But did the nation's breakdown have to happen for that? And how enduring will it be? When eventually the overseas lender demands, "Extend your hours," we're assured that the populace now governs. But over 3 years nobody has sought the public's view. Agreements have been made that will tie us down for ages. Did the people authorise them? No, they were inked by regimes that sprang up suddenly, declaring themselves as the public stand-ins. Revolution brought freedom, they insist. But where's that liberty? Sure, anyone can stroll the avenue, step into their job, or join a gathering. But if smart, they'll stay quiet. In the past, people dreaded displeasing a monarch. Today, they dread irking an official. And who benefited from this upheaval? The banking houses and trading floors. We heard that capitalism was doomed, but the moneylenders hold even greater sway now. The labourer hasn't found true liberty. He's just swapped one overseer for another. The ones who vowed emancipation have only brought subjugation. They declared capitalism would be smashed. But when folks pointed out that even Jews possess funds, the response was, "Rest easy. All capitalist systems will disappear." Yet it didn't. It evolved. Manufacturing wealth took a hit. Banking wealth expanded. The global market exchange, that borderless force, boomed right in our wreckage. Its masters viewed themselves not as citizens of countries, but as their overlords, as German labourers fought just to get by. Some profited richly from his suffering. He might climb to the hills or visit a spa once in his life, chasing clean air and relaxation. Others headed there to trim their surplus weight, indulging in extravagances beyond his dreams. They weren't from the labouring ranks, not the ones who worked with hands or intellect. They existed separately, cocooned in advantages. At the same time, millions in the East endured famine. But there too, a fresh elite of leaders basked in opulence. Individuals who labelled themselves public servants. Yet as the crowds went hungry, they sped by luxury rail, stayed in grand lodgings, and savoured shows by performers for their entertainment. In this way, all that the labourer believed he'd secured for himself slid into others' grasp. The valuables he'd grabbed from the former elite turned into worthless baubles. Gold and gems couldn't nourish his household. Bread, now managed by authorities, got portioned out and denied. And who ran the authorities? The deceivers, the ones who preached fairness while erecting fresh hierarchies of control. Fellow Germans, do we truly think these types will ever halt the uprising? They won't. Disorder feeds them. Turmoil sustains their hold. Stopping it would dismantle their authority. If one of them were seized by guilt and faced the crowd to admit, "We've misled you. We've guided you into despair," he'd be ripped to shreds in the town square. They dare not utter the truth, for it would unravel everything they've built. Still, amid the crowds, a fresh wave of awareness is rising, an unstoppable surge of enlightenment. Folks are starting to pierce the veil of deceit. The awareness dawns gradually yet inevitably that they've been sold out. Once that truth sinks in, nothing can halt its momentum. The entrenched leaders sense its approach. They feel the mounting fury at their backs. In response, they resort to radical measures aiming to preserve their grip by fracturing society even more. They realise that while minds and muscles stay divided, while thinkers and toilers are pitted against each other, their control remains secure. A splintered populace can't fight back. But the time will arrive when socialism ceases to be a weapon wielded by those who dismantle countries, and instead becomes the domain of those who fuse it with patriotism and solidarity. On that day, the edifice of falsehoods will collapse. Then, the ones who've twisted both toil and belief will face their reckoning. In their panic, they'll try one final ploy to unleash disaster on the country before their own collapse, to plunge Germany into turmoil, ensuring no one outlasts their fall. The left offers no aid. It simply can't. Its foundational deception forces it to spin ever more fabrications. But the right? It intends good, but lacks the resolve to act. It hasn't comprehended the peril. It views politics as mere contests for votes and seats, not a battle for survival. They cling to the notion that a nation's fate is settled in assemblies and offices, that the gravest loss is just comfort or status. They fail to recognise that this fight endangers their lives. They don't realise you don't have to oppose the upheaval to fall victim to it. Just having a functioning mind is enough. And since they miss this point, their efforts stay cautious and insignificant. They'd love to strike out, but they waver. They'd yearn to stand firm, but they argue endlessly. They can't comprehend the scale of the era they're in. Yet another grave mistake is their muddling of national loyalty with royal allegiance. They equate devotion to a family or ruler with devotion to the homeland. They overlook that the essence of the nation must tower over trivial schemes, over routine disputes, over personal agendas. What we need to repeat endlessly is this: we aim to enter the small rifts and illuminate the profound bonds that tie us together. Our heritage, our traditions, our drive to exist as a single folk. When every German pulse beats solely for Germany, true cohesion will emerge. Whether the coming order takes shape as a kingdom or a democracy pales beside this supreme obligation: to make all of Germany liberated and whole. When that moment arrives, the governance structure will naturally spring from the people's nature. And here's another vital insight. We have to shed all notions of class divisions. It's simple to urge the labourer to shed the proletarian label. While the elite boasts of their separation, in a unified land, there's only one supreme claim: the dignity and reward of genuine labour. Toil should unite every citizen, forming the bedrock of the realm. No society can last without it. Indeed, a regime needs authority and must advance boldly. But even the strictest command can thrive only by advancing the common good. Frederick the Great governed as a wise autocrat because every decision stemmed from a single aim: the prosperity of Prussia. That's what turned his rule from accepted to adored. the right has lost sight of this wisdom. It ignores that today's democracy strays from the German ethos. It's morphed into an instrument for those who twist public sentiment for gain. Every matter gets tossed to the mob. The most cunning manipulator of illusions claims victory. And who excels at illusion? Those who've perfected the craft of deceit. As a result, honesty is muffled, and rot masquerades as nobility. Germany can't linger indefinitely amid polar opposites. A centrist faction of concessions will be brushed away. Someday, the masses will rally to those who predicted the downfall and work to prevent it. Only two roads remain: the left, paving the way to ruin and disorder, or the right, ready to grasp the helm of fate and resurrect from the ruins. Compromise is impossible. The German people will either endure or vanish. They'll either triumph over hopelessness or face obliteration. It was this awareness that sparked our cause. Two core tenets were etched into our souls. First, to confront reality with clear-eyed realism. Second, to voice it with unyielding candour. From these principles sprang the pillars of our agenda. The terms quote 2 and quote 3 aren't foes, but siblings. A Jew, by distorting the social concept and morphing it into Marxism, aimed to cleave them asunder, pitting country against workers, workers against country. He managed it briefly, but we asserted right from the start that to reunite what is meant to be together as a nation is to cherish one's fellow citizens with unyielding loyalty, even to the point of death. To embrace socialism is to forge a society so honourable and equitable that every individual would gladly give their life for it. Germans know no social classes. We form a single nation. Variations in jobs, abilities or trades exist, of course, but nothing that breaks the bonds of our shared ancestry. The diligent labourer, whether using hands or intellect, the artisan, the agriculturist, the technician, all share in the same fellowship. What divides us must never eclipse what unites us. Only the lazy and the leech stand apart. Effort defines true value. Labour should both solidify the country and set apart the worthy from the worthless. The slothful one is the downfall. The builder, be it with quill or tool, represents the elite of our realm. Genuine labour serves the entire collective. It pulses as the vital force of the fatherland. We held that this insight stemmed directly from our racial roots and traditions. Other peoples perceive work in ways alien to the Aryan view. For us, toil forms the bedrock of shared existence. For them, it often becomes just a tool for domination. This difference sparks the unending clash between builders and mere takers. From such a standpoint, we asserted that financial self-reliance demands political liberty. Globalism, we declared, is built on deception. Liberty emerges from power, and power from determination. Hence, the drive for dominance must blaze intensely in the hearts of the masses. We announced that, as National Socialists and German labourers, we must embody the fiercest patriotism. Only when Germans seize control of their fate will their land become an earthly heaven. A land of bondage can never be paradise, merely a jail. We emphasise that true authority lies not in sheer quantity, but in vitality, conviction, and bold resolve. A modest group, gripped by unshakable belief, can reshape the course of events. A revelation, once uncovered, holds no value without the relentless spirit to put it into practice. These ideas formed the bedrock of our cause, the principles that sustained it and justified its emergence. For 3 years, we fought to turn these ideals into reality. The path was arduous. Our every caution was dismissed as mere rabble-rousing. Each objection we raised was branded as betrayal. We rejected the Treaty of Versailles, labelling it an outrage against our country. We fought back against yielding our weapons, for disarmament equals surrender. We cautioned against the disastrous monetary strategies now pulling us into bankruptcy. The response was always identical: provocateurs. But we proved correct. We were the initial voices highlighting a subtle threat infiltrating our society, one that millions overlooked, yet which could doom our folk if ignored. We addressed it forthrightly while others hushed their tongues. For that too we earned the label of agitators. Count Lurchenfeld once addressed the Landtag, stating that his Christian sentiments barred him from anti-Semitism. I declare that my Christian instincts direct me to my Redeemer as a warrior, not merely as a victim, but as a champion of righteousness. They lead me to the figure who, amid a handful of disciples, recognized the decay of his era and wielded the whip to expel the moneylenders from the sanctuary. He battled those who had tainted the vitality of his nation. With profound faith, I maintain this was the battle for which he spilled his blood on the cross. As a follower of Christ, I reject the notion that my role is to permit deception and plunder of my people. Rather, I must battle for honesty, fairness, and the endurance of our fatherland. 2,000 years past, ancient Rome crumbled beneath identical rot and moral decay. Fresh Germanic hordes then descended from the north to revive culture. Yet if Germany succumbs now, who will step in to restore it? No untamed groups linger beyond our frontiers. Our Germanic essence will vanish from the world unless we awaken and shatter our fetters. And nothing affirms the justice of our fight more than the mounting agony of our nation. For as a Christian, I owe allegiance to my homeland above all. Strolling through the avenues, witnessing men queuing for loaves, gazing at their exhausted countenances, beholding mothers labouring to nourish their young, I would be no disciple of Christ but a fiend if compassion failed to stir me. And, mirroring my Saviour from 2 millennia ago, I turn my fury on those who prey upon and oppress the destitute. The plight of the German nation intensifies daily. Critics charge us with inciting fervour, yet I counter that fire already rages in every empty belly and despairing soul. We did not ignite it. Desperation gave it birth. The issue is not if it will erupt, but toward what end, ruin or renewal. To our accusers who dub us instigators, I pose this: what hope do you extend to the masses? What conviction do you provide for them to cling to amid this crisis? You offer nothing. Even you have lost faith in your own rhetoric. That's precisely why our cause must offer them a fresh outlook, a belief, a firm resolve, an ideal potent enough to pull them out of disarray and despondency, a belief capable of binding them together and reclaiming their self-worth. We've endured ridicule, oppression, and suppression, but we endure. We'll keep voicing the reality of labour and solidarity, because that reality holds the key to Germany's revival. Our cause avoids promises of comfort, embracing instead the battle ahead. It shuns ease for obligation. It calls on every German for the resolve to forego, the grit to persist, and the drive to trust anew. We pursue not retribution, but revival. We strive not to dismantle, but to reconstruct. In this struggle, we shall not waver. Each stretch of gloom draws us nearer to enlightenment. Every strike of adversity tempers a fiercer determination. Every flash of disgrace recalls the barriers we must surpass. When the populace reunites as a single force, labourers, tillers, intellectuals, fighters, tied not through dread, but through conviction, Germany will thrive once more. Our might will emerge not from riches, not from pacts, not from outsiders' pity, but from the spirit of every soul who still trusts this land can ascend. That's why we proclaim our message, even branded as rabble-rousers, since muteness would spell treason. We proclaim for the silenced. We proclaim for a tomorrow where toil earns respect, equity holds true, and liberty reverts to the masses. Thus we vow to reignite national trust, to forge solidarity from wreckage, to convert gloom into resolve, enabling Germany to step from the void into radiance once again.